ठीक है. So any idea what was, आप लोगों का हिस्ट्री हुआ है क्या? तो what was Marshall Plan? हिस्ट्री हुआ है, ये नहीं हुआ है. Okay, नहीं कोई नहीं, we will do that. कभी सुना है कोल्ड वॉर में there was something called Marshall Plan? सुना है? कभी नहीं सुना है. अच्छा जी, कोल्ड वॉर तो सुना है. ठीक है, तो देखिए हमने समझा था डिफरेंस बिटवीन कैपिटलिज्म एंड कम्युनिज्म. When 1971 we were understanding that initially there was a perception among the developed world or the Western world that all communist countries are one because they believe in no territorial nation. The logic is worker of the world unite. That was the logic. So Karl Marx propounded that ultimately 1960s में there was a feud between USSR and China on border. So that old myth that national border does not matter broke down. So after that USA started the policy of ping pong diplomacy we discussed. नाम लिया था मैंने यार, लगा ऐसे क्यों देख रहे हो ऐसा रिस्पॉन्स करो ना. So we saw the ping pong diplomacy. So ultimately, basically, what happened in Cold War is there were two factions. Europe was divided into two parts. One was under influence of USSR, that is the Eastern Europe. Western Europe was under the influence of US. So another thinking that the Western world had about communism is, first was that all communist countries are one. Second perception they had is that communism only survives in poverty. Actually, it is a philosophy of which people? Labor class, working class, जो भी the deprived section of the society, उनकी philosophy है. So ultimately they thought no poverty, no communism. That was their logic. So based on that, the US government started basically a plan by the name of Marshall Plan. It was assistance plan for entire Western world. Agar if we go in philosophy, then communism is supposed to be better than capitalism, because especially for the working class. Communism की entire premise is that. But when USA invested too much in the Western Europe, so Western Europe got developed, or there was a stark difference between the Western Europe and the Eastern Europe. हाँ, जो Germany भी divide हो गया था. So the logic that was कि communism will lead to prosperity of all was failing. It was a humiliation for which country? USSR. So that was the prime purpose of Marshall Plan, that is giving assistance too much to the Western countries. Ultimately, they will do two things. Number one, all Western countries, for example, if I make investment in your business, so ultimately you are more closer to me than to the other party. So first thing is they made too much investment in Western Europe. The Western Europe ideologically got aligned with USA. First thing. Second thing, it was a humiliation for USSR. They're supposed to be the gold standard of equality, liberty and all. Clear है ना? So that was the logic. With this logic, we started Gujarat Doctrine. Had we discussed Gujarat Doctrine थोड़ा बहुत? कुछ भी नहीं किया था. ठीक है. तो देखिए Gujarat Doctrine basically had 4 components. 5 were Panchsheel and 2 special components it had. First is non-reciprocal benefit. Second, no anti-India activity. अभी तो क्या कुछ नहीं हुआ था. देखिए Panchsheel was basically agreed upon in Tibet when China forcefully inducted Tibet. तो नेहरू, देखिए remember this, Nehru was never fearful of China or USSR. He was fearful of communism because he did not. We fought for this liberal democracy. We knew what a dictatorship can do. However, economically he was very appealing. Economically he was appeased with USSR and China, but politically he was not. Politically he was scared that communism can percolate in India. That was his only prime concern. So for that he signed Panchsheel. The Panchsheel was a negotiation. A lot of people say that it was a stupidity of Nehru to recognize Tibet. ठीक है, थी भी, because Tibet was a buffer zone. We never had a border with China. We had a border with Tibet, and British government had rights over Tibet. So basically इसका logic ये था कि if I recognize Tibet as a part of China, so China will have no reason to commit any aggression on me. That was the logic. Of course, a failure. So nonetheless, Panchsheel relates to that 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, like mutual understanding, no interference in internal affairs, respecting each other's territorial integrity, no war, discuss and debate kind of things. Clear? So I.K. Gujral, what he did is he added two components to this. He was influenced by US Marshall Plan. He said the US gave disproportionate benefits to the Western Europe. And Western Europe, there were too much investment. The entire Western Europe came near to USA. So why shouldn't we do that? So for that, non-reciprocal benefit means we will give non-reciprocal. कोई भी TT we will sign ना with any of our neighbor. We will give them first. Basically neighborhood first. जो मोदी जी ने बाद में name दिया है. So we will give them benefit and consider our benefit as a secondary interest, but with one guarantee with all the neighbors that you will not allow your territory for anti-India activity. So nonetheless, it was a failure. We all know the reason is paired minority conflict. जो हम लिखेंगे बाद में. We discuss the paired minority conflict. There are some minorities in both the countries, especially in Pakistan case, army, which will never like to have good relations, because good relations means there is no capture of disproportionate resources, no disproportionate capture of the resources of Pakistan. अब उन्हें justify भी तो करना है. Why we are taking so much of your resources? You're dying out of hunger, but we are taking your resources in the name of building the tanks, dams, and tanks, your nuclear missiles and all. तो justify करना पड़ता है जनता को. So what is the best way of justifying the nationalism? You cannot give food, give nationalism. That's it. Clear? चलिए ये लिखिए. Please write down everyone. Within Gujral, rock and write down. I.K. Gujral brought new perspective. I.K. Gujral brought new perspective in the Indian foreign policy. Brought new perspective in the Indian foreign policy. Full stop. He was inspired by the ideals of US-led. He was inspired by the ideals of US-led Marshall Plan. US-led Marshall Plan. Full stop. Subheading. Within Gujral doctrine, subheading. Marshall Plan. The Western world had an orientation. The Western world had an orientation that communism is an ideology of poors. That communism is an ideology of poors. Full stop. So the Marshall Plan, you have to write, Harsh. The Western world had an orientation. The Western world had an orientation that communism is an ideology. Had an orientation that communism is an ideology of poors. Full stop. So investing in the Western Europe. So investing in the Western Europe is the best antidote. Investing in the Western Europe is the best antidote against communism. Best antidote against communism. Full stop. Next para. It was a humiliation. For the communist countries. It was a humiliation for the communist countries because communism is supposed to be humiliation for the communist country because communism is supposed to be a pro-poor reform. Communism is supposed to be a pro-poor reform. Full stop. Next, write down subheading component of Gujarat doctrine. Subheading component of Gujarat doctrine. Within the set, number one is Panchsheel. Number one, Panchsheel. Put an arrow or something, write down the five principle of peaceful coexistence. The five principle of peaceful coexistence agreed upon. Principles of peaceful coexistence agreed upon in Tibet Treaty. Agreed upon in Tibet Treaty between India and China. Between sorry, किसने बोला? सॉरी, तिब्बत वाज ऑफर्ड टू इंडिया. ये किसने बताया तुम्हें? अच्छा, एक्चुअली क्या है ऐसे, अब हमने एक शायद हिस्ट्री के एक एग्जांपल लिया था ना, यश वो अश्वमेध यज्ञ वाला, हिस्ट्री टू वास्ट. अब ऐसे तो एक कमेंट ये भी है कि इंडिया वाज ऑफर्ड यूएनएससी सीट, परमानेंट वाला, पर हाँ अब नैरेटिव्स हैं. ठीक है, अभी वी विल राइट ओनली विच इज कंक्लूसिवली प्रूवन. कोई नैरेटिव तो बहुत से फैलाए जाते हैं. ठीक है, जहां तक आप इसमें एक्चुअली अभी हम कर नहीं रहे, वी विल डू दिस जब हम करेंगे इंडिया चाइना पाम एंड फिंगर थ्योरी माओ की. दैट क्लियरली स्टेटेड उसका कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था टू गिव दैट टू इंडिया. तो फिर इंडिया ने दलाई लामा को क्यों रखा है? क्योंकि दलाई लामा इज अ बार्गेनिंग चिप. अब चाइना में करेंगे लेकिन वी कैन नॉट डू एवरीथिंग हियर. अभी हमने पंचशील तो उसने अग्री कर लिया था, उसके बाद उसने बोला इंडिया इज बीइंग हिपोक्रेट. पंचशील में आप कहते हो यू विल नॉट इंटरफेयर इन इंटरनल अफेयर्स, फिर आप दलाई लामा को जगह दे रहे हो वगैरह वगैरह. दलाई लामा भी एक कमाल का केस है, करेंगे उसे. ठीक है, इंडिया चाइना में. देखिए सेकंड पॉइंट, सेकंड फर्स्ट इज पंचशील हो गया ना. सेकंड पॉइंट नॉन रेसिप्रोकल बेनिफिट्स. अभी हम करेंगे नहीं ना इसे डिटेल में, चाइना में हम बहुत कुछ करेंगे इसके साथ. नॉन रेसिप्रोकल बेनिफिट्स, non-reciprocal benefits to all the neighbors. Non-reciprocal benefits to all the neighbors of India. Third point, all the neighbors non-reciprocal benefit to all the neighbors of India. Third point is all the neighbors must guarantee. All the neighbors must guarantee that they will not allow. Must guarantee that they will not allow any third power. They will not allow any third power or any anti-India power. Any third power or any anti-India power to work in their territory. To work in their territory. A question has been asked with respect to the book for IR. I suggest no books. I will give you exhaustive notes. उससे बाहर नहीं आएगा. All you have to do is top it up by current events. क्योंकि उसका मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है, वो तो आपको करना पड़ेगा. Of course, Saturday class में we cover whenever we find anything important. ठीक है, we will cover more or less everything. अगर आपको कोई बुक पढ़नी है you can read for standard reference. चॉइस आपकी है, बट जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. ठीक है, all you have to do is top up with current events. चलिए नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन. तो गुजरात डॉक्ट्रिन में क्लियर है सबको, 7 प्रिंसिपल्स वर देयर. अल्टीमेटली वी नो 1990s में फिर एक और वॉर होती है हमारे बीच में. 1998 वी बिकेम अ न्यूक्लियर पावर which we will understand as stupidity to accept. ठीक है, न्यूक्लियर पावर when Vajpayee get nuclear power, basically we became in 1998 nuclear power. What was the stupidity in this case is we acknowledged as a nuclear power. जैसे Israel आज भी acknowledge नहीं करता whether it has nuclear power or weapons or not. इसके advantage होते हैं. First is if you don't have, you can bluff. If you don't have nuclear weapon, you can make a bluff. क्योंकि सामने वाली पार्टी को नहीं पता है whether you have or not, or nobody can conclusively find. ठीक है? If you have nuclear weapon, then you can avoid sanctions. तो यहाँ पे we will understand the stupidity that we committed here is we accepted that we have developed nuclear weapon, जो कि हमें नहीं करना चाहिए था. Why? The reason is nuclear energy program. कुछ आइडिया है इकोनॉमिक्स में करवाया गया आपको? अच्छा, इकोनॉमिक्स हुआ नहीं अभी. ठीक है, तो वहाँ पे एनर्जी का चैप्टर है प्रॉपर. वहाँ पे यू विल डू ऑल द दिस रिन्यूएबल न्यूक्लियर सारे करेंगे. तो मैं थोड़ा रेफरेंस दे देता हूँ. इंडिया हैज अ न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी प्रोग्राम स्टार्टेड बाय होमी भाभा. ठीक है, इट इज अ 3-layered प्रोग्राम. फर्स्ट लेयर में वी विल हैव यूरेनियम along with what was the heavy water reactor. Do you know what is heavy water? Yes, hydrogen का isotope basically. D2O. Next is second stage में we will have plutonium along with fast breeder reactors. If you want, you can write this. ये हमारा काम का नहीं है. I am just giving you extra reference. ठीक है. Third is thorium, along with again fast breeder reactors. Of what is the significance here? The significance here is that once we achieve this stage, we don't have uranium, we don't have plutonium. What we have is thorium. India is the world's largest deposit of thorium. World's largest. It means that once we reach to the third stage, we are self-sufficient. Abhi, what is the biggest problem India witnessed in its international relations? Energy dependence. We are highly energy dependent on the world, especially Middle East. Mein when we will understand because of India's energy dependence on Middle East, हम हर बार झुक जाते हैं. इसीलिए इंडिया को even India got a name that India is more Arab than Arab. हम इतने ज्यादा बैंड हो गए थे कि we got the name more Arab than Arab. अब इसमें फॉर एग्जांपल आपने रिसेंट में न्यूज में देयर वाज अ पर्टिकुलर वुमन नुपुर शर्मा केस याद है उसका सबको. What happened? She made some comment on Muhammad. Ultimately, the entire Muslim world started to react. Ultimately, BJP had to react. ऐसा नहीं था BJP hated her or something. What was the rationale? Because BJP is a party, but it is in government. It understands. अगर Muslim world will get angry, and we are 85% energy dependent on them. अगर वो ₹1 भी if they increase on petrol, crude oil, it means inflation will skyrocket in India. ₹1 पेट्रोल डीजल प्राइस का मतलब कमोडिटी पे यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड अराउंड 100 to 150 रुपीज इंक्रीज. ₹1 पेट्रोल इंक्रीज, ₹1 पर लीटर मानते हैं. तो इफ आई हैव टू सप्लाई समथिंग फ्रॉम फॉर एग्जांपल तमिलनाडु टू दिल्ली, तो इमेजिन हाउ मेनी किलोमीटर्स. और जो यू नो माइलेज का इशू आता है. तो बेसिकली इट्स अ कहते हैं रिपल इफेक्ट. देयर आर डोमिनो इफेक्ट में तो पूरा स्प्रेड कर जाएगा. रिपल में इट इंक्रीज. ठीक है, तो यू गॉट द पॉइंट. इसीलिए वी रिस्पॉन्डेड. ऐसा नहीं था वी हेटेड हर कमेंट, मतलब वी मतलब बीजेपी. ठीक है, बट इट हैड टू रिस्पॉन्ड अल्टीमेटली, अदरवाइज द मुस्लिम कंट्री विल गेट एंग्री. तो इससे हम समझेंगे वी आर सो मच ट्रैप्ड इन मिडिल ईस्टर्न पॉलिटिक्स ना चाहते हुए बिकॉज ऑफ आवर एनर्जी डिपेंडेंस. अब व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम हियर? व्हेन इन 1998 वी एक्नॉलेज दैट वी आर अ न्यूक्लियर पावर, सैंक्शन एंस्यूड. We were trying to move from here to here. By this time we had started thorium stage. Start कर चुके होते हम. But because of this acknowledgement and sanctions by the world, all nuclear trade stopped with India. Ultimately, we have just started plutonium stage. Well, maybe we have to take around 30 to 40 years to reach to thorium. We for 30 to 40 years we are still dependent on Middle East. So got the reason because of this acknowledgement this got delayed. और हमें यहाँ पहुँचना है किसी भी कीमत पे. Combine this with renewable energy and India will be energy self-sufficient. और फिर हम दुनिया से डील करेंगे on our terms. Clear है? तो this happened, so that was the significance here. उसके बाद next most important event is 2001 Agra summit. In this summit, for the first time, Pakistan acknowledged that cross-border terrorism is an issue. अब तक जो था पाकिस्तान used to deny कि भाई नहीं, there is no issue of terrorism, but for the first time it acknowledged that yes, there is an issue of terrorism. So to understand that, थोड़ा सा करते हैं terrorism को. हमने story of terrorism किया है क्या? नहीं किया ना? Actually मेरी 2-3 IR क्लास होती हैं तो I get confused कहाँ पे क्या हुआ है. ठीक है, तो please do tell me every time. So terrorism. First of all, what is terrorism? Can anyone define it? Those are two different technology. We had the reactor we talked about. They are fission-based technology. The hydrogen you are talking about, that is fusion-based technology. Fusion अभी हम possible नहीं है. Fusion better है पर possible नहीं है क्योंकि उसके लिए अब इकोनॉमिक्स में पढ़ाया जाएगा. टोकामास होते हैं. टोकामास we call them the experimental reactor of fusion. तो उसे sustain करना मुश्किल है अभी हमारे पास. Fusion is better, but nonetheless it is not feasible for right now. मतलब right now whatever technology we have, we cannot achieve a fusion reactor. जब होगा तब देखेंगे. चलिए, तो what I asked, हाँ, terrorism. बोलिए, I believe सब लोग सुनते हैं terrorism. Something accepted on the. अच्छा, तो टेरर क्या होता है सर? एनीथिंग आउट ऑफ लॉ, मोरालिटी. अच्छा, तो वो तो फिर बहुत ही सब्जेक्टिव हो गया ना. हाँ, ऋषि, एंटी नेशनल एक्टिविटीज. ओके, कूल. अगेन देखिए, टेररिज्म इज बेसिकली, हम इसे इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी में करवाया जाता है. तो मैं थोड़ा रेफरेंस दे देता हूँ आपको बस. You have crimes. First term you need to know is crime. Crime is something that is illegal at that point of time. Key criteria is that point of time, because crime changes over time. Morality changes over time. For example, sati was legal once upon a time. Then Britishers outlawed it. So from a cultural practice, it became a illegal practice. It became a crime. So crime is highly subjective. It depends upon the morality of the time. That's why every crime is time referenced. For example, marijuana is illegal. हो सकता है कल legal हो जाए. For example, Thailand has recently made it legal for medical purposes. We all know what is medical purposes. Okay, getting high and every time. Okay, so crime is that. If second term is organized crime. When you have a structure like government of India has, it becomes organized crime. What is the biggest difference in crime and organized crime? Crime can be committed by individual. Organized crime में there is proper structure and everybody is replaceable. मान लेते हैं you become an IS officer, तो you are replaceable or not? You are. आप बैठे हो, you are a DM of the one district, कल कोई और आ जाएगा, परसों कोई और आ जाएगा. ऐसा तो नहीं है आप चले जाओगे तो समाज, the system will stop. So that is organized crime, from recruitment to the execution. Or the three organized crime we acknowledge is prostitution, guns and drugs. Highly organized. The problem in organized crime is you cannot deal with organized crime as long as there is demand. जैसे for example prostitution की बात, हाँ बिल्कुल सही समझ. For example, if we talk about prostitution, so illegal in India up till recently. Supreme Court has made it a profession. अब illegal नहीं है, पहले था. So it was illegal, but it has been practiced everywhere. Why? When something is illegal, which is a crime, but still in practice, because it is an organized crime. An organized crime survives on demand. As long as there is a demand, you can never eradicate that crime. जैसे ड्रग्स की बात कर लेते हैं. गवर्नमेंट टेक्स टू मेनी एफर्ट्स. हमारे पास वी हैव अ प्रॉपर ब्यूरो, नारकोटिक्स कंट्रोल ब्यूरो. In spite of that, everyone consumes drugs in some or less quantity, whatever may be the case. Why? Because there is a demand. As long as there is a demand, you can never eradicate. मान लेते हैं, for example, prostitution में I took out some people in local areas. तो क्या उससे रुक जाएगा? नहीं रुकेगा. Because somebody is demanding it. And as long as somebody is demanding it, somebody will supply. The fundamental rule of economics. If there is a demand, there will always be a supply. Always. चाहे illegit. For example, आप देखिए, आपका liquor ban है ना गुजरात में and बिहार में, but क्या मिलती नहीं? On a phone call you can get it. The thing is, there is a demand of liquor. The government may ban it. It will never eradicate it. ठीक है? So that is organized crime. So what is terrorism? Terrorism is basically understood as organized crime plus a just cause. When you have an organized crime from recruitment to execution, but there is a just cause associated with it. अब ये just cause always change. For example, in interwar period, this period is known as the national terrorism crime. At this point of time, the crime was associated with terrorism was national in orientation. Means there were so many countries. आप पढ़ेंगे world history में Serbians and everyone wanted a country of their own. हमारे देश में भी हुआ था. If you remember, the revolutionary phase started around something like this, where they killed the government officers and all. So at that point of time, terrorism was associated with nationalism, demand for nationalism. Everyone was killing each other in the name of nationalism. So just cause always change. अब हम समझेंगे what happened over time. Today the just cause is jihad. तो याद रखिएगा, it always change. Terrorism is never neutral. It's always highly subjective. आप कहाँ खड़े होते हैं, where you are standing, it will change. अब कैसे स्टार्ट होता है, इसकी छोटी सी कहानी है. I'm talking about today's terrorism because we associate terrorism with Islam right now. But everyone remember, terrorism means killing innocents. And if you're killing innocent, it can be government also. For example, can we call government of United States of America terrorist government? Can we, if we apply the definition of killing innocents? That is what Noam Chomsky has said. He has called the American government, America, as the world first terrorist country. He lives in USA and he called it. Why? Because of US invasion of Afghanistan that killed 5 lakh people. क्या सारे terrorists थे? Maybe 1,000 होंगे, 2,000 होंगे, मैं कहता हूँ 1 लाख भी सही. So 4 lakh people were innocent. And that's why Taliban came to power. Because for them, Taliban is not a terrorist group. It is a liberator against a foreign government that is killing mercilessly. Perspective always change everything. So what happened is, in 1979, there was a particular country by the name of United Soviet Socialist Republic, or USSR. That country went into Afghanistan. That country goes into Afghanistan. At that point of time, Cold War was going on. USA and USSR was on the forefront of each other. A problem ये थी कि both had nuclear weapons. Afghanistan में the ruler was close to USSR. So the government of USSR came to assist Afghani government against the rebellions. At that point of time, America was very confused. यार अब क्या करें? Because I cannot go directly there. I cannot put my military. It will be a hot war, and we have nuclear weapons. So at that point of time, America recruited Pakistan. America gave Pakistan arms and money and asked Pakistan to raise mujahideens. Mujahideen means fighter of Islam or Allah something. So these people were raised by Pakistan on behest of America. The purpose of this mujahideen was to fight against USSR. Why they will fight against USSR? Just cause. What was the just cause here? We understood communism does not believe in religion. China is an atheist state. What communism talks about religion? Opium of masses. The drug of masses. The way you take drug and you forget everything, same is religion. If I ask you to do something for me, you may resist. If I ask you to do something for the God, in the name of God, you will be like, okay, fine. बहुत लोग होते हैं, you see ये राम रहीम टाइप के लोग कैसे एक्सप्लॉइट कर लेते हैं? Because they know you respect religion and they become the messenger of religion, God-men. ठीक है, तो in that point of time, these people were sad कि I told you Islam में Islam does not tolerate non-believers. Non-believer atheism is a sin in Islam. So basically, Pakistan radicalized these people and told to them, "Bhai, you have to fight not against USSR. USSR is a country." They said, "No, you are not fighting against USSR. You are fighting against kafirs." That was a just cause. Politics is very amazing. Sometimes kills people, but amazing. So in this case, what happened? Pakistan raised mujahideens against USSR. The effort of mujahideens was fulfilled in 1989 when USSR went away. USSR withdrew from Afghanistan. अब देखिए this point पे एक बहुत important point that comes of ethics in every paper, radicalization. देखिए radicalization is like an atom bomb or timed bomb. It always explodes. If I radicalize you today for somebody else, You will work against that person. But the day that person goes away, your radicalization will not. Radical people, they're like bombs. Either you explode them to the enemy or they get exploded on yourself. तो प्रॉब्लम क्या हुई, ये मुजाहिदीन गॉट अनएम्प्लॉयड. अब क्या करें इनका? You have radicalized an entire generation by the thought of jihad, against kafir USSR. What to do with them? तभी इन्हें याद आता है कि there is another part of the world which they want, that is India, Jammu Kashmir. So if you trace the history of terrorism in India, it starts in 1987 to 89. Jammu Kashmir में इससे पहले नहीं था. Maybe there was attempt of secession and all, but proper terrorism as we see today, bombing and all, it was not permanently present in Jammu Kashmir. It started particularly in 1987. There was a particular event. Election happened in 1987, and actually Congress won, but it is disputed by highly controversial means. So the people of Jammu Kashmir, the representative there said, "Bhai, what is the point of democracy when you cannot give us a true one?" तो आपको ने सुना हुर्रियत कॉन्फ्रेंस? कभी नाम सुना हुर्रियत कॉन्फ्रेंस? नहीं सुना? ओके कूल. तो गिलानी विलानी जो अभी मरे हैं, दैट वाज अ पार्ट ऑफ हुर्रियत कॉन्फ्रेंस. दे वर नोन एज सेपरेटिस्ट इन जम्मू कश्मीर. All the parties who were in opposition, they came together and they formed Hurriyat Conference. They said, we will not fight elections because there is no point of fighting election when you are winning election by deceit. At this point, keep in mind, the election may be deceitful or maybe not. It doesn't matter. What matters in politics? Perception. If you can make the people believe that the government is unjust, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता whether it is unjust or not. That's how revolution works. That's how politics works every day. For example, you see people justifying such a high inflation. देखिए high inflation है तो क्या हुआ? Why they justify? Because we have, some parties have made a perception in their mind that by being hungry you are serving the nation. By being hungry कैसे कोई सर्व करता है नेशन को? But they believe in it. Belief is very powerful in politics. यहाँ तक सबको क्लियर हो रहा है? So I don't know whether in 1987 में there may be deceit or maybe not. It doesn't matter. But the people believed so. And at that point of time, Pakistan had this unemployed mujahideen, so they diverted them to Jammu Kashmir, and that's the birth of terrorism in India. Clear? So everyone clear that terrorism means organized crime with a just cause. This just cause can change over time. Once upon a time, it was nationalism during interwar period, World War के बीच में. Today, it is associated exclusively with Islam, jihad. ठीक है, थोड़ा हम करेंगे Middle East में, we will get more clarity. Up till here clear? So for the first time, it starts in 2001 में, for the first time in Agra summit, Pakistan accept yes, terrorism, that is cross-border terrorism, is an issue. Clear everyone? चलिए, write down everyone. First, next is 1998 Operation Shakti. 1998 Operation Shakti. Operation Shakti / Pokhran 2. नहीं, ये अलग है. Next heading, Gujarat is done. Pokhran 2. Within this, write down. India became 1970s वाला, हाँ, उसमें हम वेपन बना नहीं पाए थे. Within this, write down. India became a nuclear power. India became a nuclear power. Full stop. It was criticized. It was criticized from the perspective of energy security. Criticized from the perspective of energy security, full stop. However, it was praised from the perspective of nuclear deterrence. Nuclear deterrence. Take a full stop. Another term has come, nuclear deterrence. You people understand this term? देखिए इंडिया पाकिस्तान इज द लॉन्गेस्ट वी हैव, क्योंकि इसमें वी विल डू मोस्ट ऑफ द कॉन्सेप्ट्स, बाकी तो आसान हो जाएगा हमारे लिए. न्यूक्लियर डिटरेंस, एनी आइडिया? न्यूक्लियर डिटरेंस, व्हाट इज डिटरेंस? ये तो बता ही सकते हो, हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन यू कैन डू. हाँ मैड, बिल्कुल सही वैशाख. डिटरेंस, व्हाट इज डिटरेंस? अरे बोलो यार, किसी को कुछ नहीं पता. द स्पीक लाइवली, गलती तो होगा ज्यादा. हाँ, व्हाट इज डिटरेंस? बोलो बोलो. है सो शाई अवे एवरीवन. अरे डिटरेंस तो पता होगा यार, कमाल कर रहे हो, इट्स इंग्लिश वर्ड. है मेंटल ब्लॉक. डिटरेंस माने काइंड ऑफ प्रिवेंशन, आप ऐसे कह सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ आई मेक यू कन्विंस दैट इफ यू डेयर टू हिट मी आई विल रिप्लाई बैक, इट्स अ डिटरेंस अगेंस्ट वायलेंस. डिटरेंस मींस प्रिवेंशन काइंड ऑफ. आई वांट टू प्रिवेंट समथिंग फ्रॉम हैपनिंग. यस साक्षी, बिल्कुल सही. I want to prevent something. So nuclear weapon are the ultimate deterrence. Why? Because of MAD. That is mutually assured destruction. Mutually assured destruction. If you attack on me, then I will use my nuclear weapon, and that is complete annihilation. So when we acquired this nuclear weapon, the government said, "ठीक है, we compromised our energy security. We understood 3 stages. We wanted to reach that, but कोई नहीं. But we will achieve deterrence." अब देखिए डिटरेंस के साथ प्रॉब्लम हुई. पाकिस्तान वाज वेरी क्विक टू चेक दिस डिटरेंस. आप ये कॉमन फिनोमिना पाएंगे. व्हेनेवर इंडिया डज समथिंग ना, पाकिस्तान ऑलवेज रिस्पॉन्ड्स. व्हाई? बिकॉज़ पाकिस्तान वांट टू सी हाउ मच इंडिया इज कन्विंस्ड. और डिटरेंस के 2 कंपोनेंट है. फर्स्ट कैपेसिटी एंड सेकंड कन्विंसिबिलिटी. आई मस्ट हैव द कैपेसिटी टू रेसिप्रोकेट. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट, I must be able to convince you that I will reciprocate. मान लेते हैं, if I have a gun and if you know I cannot use it, whatever may be the case, so you will not be deterred. You will do as you like. कि पता है इसमें गन है तो क्या हुआ, चलाएगा थोड़ी ना. तो it doesn't matter how big arsenal you have, until unless the other party is not convinced that you will use it, deterrence does not work. अब पाकिस्तान was very quick to check it. 1998 में we became nuclear power. 1999 में we had Kargil war. अब सेम हम एग्जांपल लेते हैं. रिसेंटली 2 इनिशिएटिव. तो दिस इज पाकिस्तान आल्सो बिकेम न्यूक्लियर कंट्री. पाकिस्तान डिटरेंस वर्कड. तो व्हाई इट इज सो कि हमारा काम नहीं करा, उसका काम कर गया. है फर्स्ट यूज पॉलिसी, अग्रीड. बट अनदर थिंग इज पाकिस्तान गॉट very convincing to India that we are mad. The reason is in India the nuclear weapons are controlled by civilian government. Pakistan में it is controlled by armed forces. अब देखिए आर्मी एंड सिविलियन में फर्क होता है. A civilian leader always has a high tolerance level for stupidity. For example, if you're negotiating on territory, a civilian leader may give up some part to have a good neighbor. जैसे we did with Bangladesh. Bangladesh को we gave a large exclusive economic zone only to gain a good friend. But army ऐसा नहीं करती. आर्मी के लिए if you are a foreigner, you are in my territory, you are an enemy, I will shoot. Orientation different है. Army, the people of army have very different psychology than a politician. अब वहां पे they got very convincing कि if you dare to come to us, we develop nuclear weapon, they develop nuclear weapon, but we said no first use. We will use only when somebody else will use. They said first use. When it was asked why, they said because conventionally India is supreme. Conventionally India is powerful. We cannot stop Indian army conventionally. So they said if you dare to come in our territory, we will use nuclear weapon. I don't care what the world will say. Basically they got very convincing in deterring India, and that is particularly known as Pakistan's nuclear blackmail, and it worked very good until Modi came to power. He said, okay, nuclear deterrence, let me check it. So what he did, he did surgical strike. चलो उसे तो पाकिस्तान somehow brushed it away कि भाई नहीं हुआ, making noise and all. But then happened Balakot strike. That was visible. Whatever, for the first time Indian plane crossed over LOC. पहली बार तो हुआ था, it was a humiliating thing and Pakistan has vowed that I will use nuclear weapons. अगर if you will not use तो कैसे बात बनेगी deterrence की? Got the point? But then Indian government did something. What Indian government did, the Ministry of External Affairs issued a notification to explain Balakot strikes. In that we used the word, particular word, that these strikes were against non-military terrorist targets. By writing this non-military, आपने जो इतना बढ़िया एफर्ट लिया था, that gone into the drain. You should have written it was a military terrorist target and clearly stated that we attacked on those who supported the terrorist. But what we used, it was a non-military terrorist target. Well, you are clearly saying that we do not want escalation. Responsible behavior, no doubt. My war is not in anybody's favor. Responsible behavior, but आप deter नहीं कर पाओगे. So that is Rajesh Raja Gopalan's analysis. He said that Indian politicians always fear escalation. And when you fear escalation, you can never deter other party. अगर मैं चाहता हूं कि do not do what I want something, you are doing it. मैं चाहता हूं you want to be stopped, तो कैसे करूंगा? I will convince you कि there is no limit of my madness. I will go to any extreme to prevent you from doing that. अगर मैं नहीं कर पाया तो you will be like बोलता रहता है, ना निंदा, कड़ी निंदा, घोर निंदा, that our politicians do. Every time something happen, हम कड़ी निंदा करते हैं, घोर निंदा करते हैं, ठीक है? That does not work. Clear everyone? The deterrence work when there is complete certainty of escalation. And उसके बाद you have seen their numerous attacks, small. Pakistan always checks India's deterrence every time. वो छोड़ता नहीं है, because once a rule is established, it is established. Pakistan was very ready. Chalo, let's have something. Got everyone clear? Until unless Indian politicians will lose their fear of escalation and be very clear about it. I don't care to what extent I have to go. I will go. तब तक आपका deterrence work नहीं करेगा. And that is the current reality of India's nuclear deterrence. It does not work on Pakistan. तभी तो when we had this talk with this Mehbooba Mufti and all, Pradhan Mantri talked with them after 370's removal. Within a week, there was a bombing on technical area of Air Force. Within a week. So got the point? There are some minorities in both countries which will never like to have good relations. आप ये notice करेंगे. अब ये हुआ. For example, 2008 में कुछ हुआ था. What happened? Mumbai attack. Imagine this. Pakistan से it was everybody know Pakistan supported था. 2008 में अटैक होता है इंडिया में, और उस समय में पाकिस्तान फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी वाज इन इंडिया फॉर टॉक्स. Pakistan's foreign secretary is in India for talks. At the same time, there is a terrorist attack in India sponsored by Pakistan Armed Forces. So what it shows you, there are two power centers in Pakistan. Pakistani military completely controls Pakistan. Sometimes it has a facade in the name of civilian government. Basically, इसे compare किया जाता है, there is a car. Basically, it is compared, it is a car. Pakistan is like a car in which either military drives it or it sits adjacent with a gun point on the civilian government to drive it. तो ये प्रॉब्लम आती है, और हमारे से प्रॉब्लम क्या आती है, किससे नेगोशिएट करें, रावलपिंडी से या इस्लामाबाद से. इस्लामाबाद इज द कैपिटल, रावलपिंडी इज द HQ ऑफ आर्म्ड फोर्सेस. तो बात करें तो किससे करें? To clear what are the problem we have, first, two power centers. Second, we are unable to create deterrence, and for that we have to do away with fear of escalation. Clear? चलिए लिखिए. But the last thing we wrote is nuclear deterrence ना. Subheading nuclear deterrence. Nuclear deterrence subheading. Within this, write down the policy of deterrence. The policy of deterrence aims to prevent. The policy of deterrence aims to prevent any attack by a foreign power. Any attack by a foreign power, full stop, among all form of deterrence, among all form of deterrence comma nuclear deterrence. Among all form of deterrence, comma nuclear deterrence is considered as the most significant. Nuclear deterrence is considered as the most significant. Full stop. Next para. It is based on the argument of MAD, MAD. Is based on the argument of MAD, all in capitals, within bracket, mutually assured destruction. Argument of MAD, within bracket, mutually assured destruction. Full stop. Next para. Nuclear deterrence has two components. Nuclear deterrence has two components. Number one, capability. Mutually assured destruction. The full form is mutually assured destruction. First component is capability. Within this, write down the ability to reciprocate. The ability to reciprocate. Yes, the component of deterrence, number one is capability. Within this, you have to write the ability to reciprocate. Second, convincibility. Second, convincibility. Within this, write down the capability to reciprocate. The capability to reciprocate will not translate. The capability to reciprocate will not translate into deterrence. Will not translate into deterrence until unless there is an element of credibility. Element of credibility. Okay. Full stop. The credibility generates convincibility. The credibility generates convincibility. Done, everyone? Achha, just tell me this. For example, I have both components, the capability and convincibility. Both I have. So even then you want to avoid my deterrence. कैसे कर सकते हैं? If I convince you that I have two components, credibility and convincibility, both I have, that I will reciprocate, doesn't matter. So even then you can counter my deterrence. How? सोचिए, आप नॉर्मल समझिए, कोई व्यक्ति है जो आपको डरा रहा है, ठीक है, somebody is trying to scare you. He is very convinced in that. So still you want to counter him. कैसे करोगे? सडन ऑफ परसेप्शन तो वो बना ही चुका है ना, इज पावरफुल. सडन ऑफ में तो फिर पूरे परिवार को लेके डूबेगा वो. नहीं, आपको अलायंस नहीं लेना, आपको खुद में करना है. कैसे करोगे? तो क्या आईआर में इग्नोर कैसे करेंगे भाई? हाँ, थप्पड़ देंगे, वो थप्पड़ दोगे फिर वो डंडे देगा, क्या फायदा होगा? नहीं, देखिए, द रीजन इज प्रूव दैट यू आर अ मैड पर्सन. प्रूव हिम दैट यू आर मैड. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल हाउ इट वर्क्स, आप देखिए, नॉर्थ कोरिया इज अ वेरी स्मॉल कंट्री, अमेरिका इज अ सुपर पावर. हाउ नॉर्थ कोरिया इज एबल टू डोमिनेट अमेरिका? बिकॉज नॉर्थ कोरिया हैज कन्विंस्ड अमेरिका आई एम मैड. तो बेशक आई कैन नॉट fight with you, I cannot, even in nuclear weapon I cannot fight with you, but I'm mad to the extent I will die, but I will make you down, I will take you down. For example, मान लेते you're a common man, the person in front of you is an IPS, मान लेते हैं, that person is powerful vis-a-vis you, अब you want to convince him that you are powerful, तो कैसे करोगे? Convince him that I will go down, पर तुझे लेके जाऊंगा. He is powerful and he can show that power. But if you convince him that मैं तो नीचे जाऊंगा ही जाऊंगा बेटा, पर तेरे को तो लेके जाऊंगा, so that will act as a counter deterrence to him. वो IPS होने के बाद भी आपको कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ पाएगा. ऐसी मैडनेस चलती है कई जगहों पे. ठीक है. नहीं, मैं वीक हूँ. आई एम एक्नॉलेजिंग आई एम वीक, बट आई एम मैड एज वेल. मैं कमजोर तो हूँ पर मैड भी हूँ. ठीक है. तो दैट इज हाउ नॉर्थ कोरिया सर्वाइव्स विज़-अ-विज़ यूएसए, a superpower unable to dominate a चुद्दा सा country, because it is very convincing that I am mad. बर्बाद कर दूंगा सबको. ठीक है, चलो लिखिए. नेक्स्ट वी हैव टू राइट. अच्छा, वी हैव डन दिस वन ना. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट लिखिए. नेक्स्ट पैरा. Within this next para, according to Rajesh Rajagopalan, according to Rajesh Rajagopalan, India's nuclear deterrence, according to Rajesh Rajagopalan, India's nuclear deterrence does not work. India's nuclear deterrence does not work vis-a-vis Pakistan. Vis-a-vis Pakistan. Does not work vis-a-vis Pakistan because Pakistan knows. Because Pakistan knows that the politicians of India. Because Pakistan knows that the politicians of India are fearful of escalation. Underline fearful of escalation. Are fearful of escalation. Underline fearful of escalation. Okay, full stop. For example, India committed surgical strikes and Balakot strikes. India committed surgical strikes and Balakot strikes, both called out Pakistan's nuclear blackmail. Both called out Pakistan's nuclear blackmail, full stop. However, the explanation issued by the government of India, following Balakot strikes, mentions, within inverted commas, write this down, mentions non-military terrorist targets. Non-military terrorist targets, inverted comma, close, full stop. So according to Rajesh Rajagopalan, this shows that India still fears. This shows that India still fears escalation. एक सेकेंड अभी करता हूं, पूरा राइट डाउन कंप्लीटली फिर करते हैं. This shows that India still fears escalation, full stop, and as long as India continues to fear escalation, there will be no deterrence. India continues to fear escalation, there will be no deterrence to Pakistan. No deterrence to Pakistan to avoid terrorism. To avoid terrorism. Full stop. Next para. He has made a prediction. He has made a prediction that Pakistan will continue. He has made a prediction that Pakistan will continue to use cross-border terrorism. Will continue to use cross-border terrorism as a tool of statecraft. As a tool of statecraft. CRAFT. Full stop. He also predicted India's response. He also predicted India's response, comma, that will be, within inverted commas, write down, Ninda, Ghor Ninda and Kadi Ninda. That will be Ninda means criticism. English में it means criticism. Ninda, Kadi Ninda and Ghor Ninda. ठीक है? Means criticism, severe criticism, ultra criticism. ठीक है? तो full stop. चलिए, हाँ. Basically, we were discussing कि हमने बालाकोट स्ट्राइक करा, which was a very good initiative because we called out Pakistan's nuclear blackmail. Pakistan says, if you bring your conventional army, I will reciprocate by military weapons. So it was a blackmail. Pakistan was able to convince India. That's why India did not cross borders. But for the first time, Modi ji challenged that. He said, देखते हैं कि कहाँ तक जाओगे तुम. So surgical strikes were done. Pakistan burst it away कि भाई नहीं हुआ, बहुत कहानियां बन गई. He's a political analyst. Nitin, he's a political analyst. उसके बाद what happened? Then Balakot strike happened. अब उसे पाकिस्तान deny नहीं कर सकता था. Because that literally planes were involved and he had one of our IAF soldier, Indian Armed Forces soldiers, he had Air Force soldier. तो वो deny नहीं कर सकता था कि there was no military. Surgical में तो उसने deny कर दिया कि नहीं था, ये बना रहे हैं. तो इसमें they could not deny. Ultimately what happened is, so there was a fear of escalation. A fear of escalation means Pakistan was very convinced कि भाई मैं मर जाऊंगा पर तुम्हें मारूंगा. But then Indian government took a good initiative. But after that, they issued an explanation for the world कि why we committed Balakot strikes. उसमें they mentioned non-military terrorist target. It simply shows that government was not targeting Pakistani army. They were only targeting non-state actor like terrorists. तो फिर भाई deterrence कहाँ से आएगा? हमें लिखना चाहिए था कि we committed aggression, we targeted terrorist element without using the word non-military. हमें यूज करना चाहिए था we targeted terrorist elements. So it would have made clear. Intention हर intention पे नहीं वर्क करता, perception पे वर्क करता है. मैं यही तो समझा रहा हूँ. What I am trying to tell you, everything in politics runs on perception. What you make out of it. मारने को मान लेते हैं, you just throw a stone in Pakistan. If you're able to make a perception that we threw a nuclear bomb, चलेगा. You threw a stone in Pakistan and then you call it a nuclear bomb. If you are able to make that perception, चलेगा. लेकिन if you throw a nuclear bomb and Pakistan makes it a stone, तो नहीं चलेगा. Clear? The perception पे चलता है सब कुछ. It doesn't matter what you do in politics. What matters is what the people believe. And that's why every party spends so much money on propaganda. ठीक है? And we understood ना sharp power वाला concept. You remember? Sharp power का second component क्या था? Propaganda. First component is self-censorship, means they will not allow the people of their country to know the reality, and then they will project an image outside of the world कि भाई हम तो ऐसे हैं, सब चंगा सी. Yes, exactly. ठीक है. चलिए, तो अच्छा हमारा टाइम भी ओवर हो गया. Anyway, we are doing in very detail Pakistan. Most of the चीजें इसी में कवर हो जाएंगी हमारी. जैसे for example, India's nuclear doctrine is covered now. ठीक है, terrorism is also covered, which is not exclusively for Pakistan, but nonetheless covers our topic. ठीक है, ऐसे हम सारे कवर कर लेंगे. चलिए, we will meet tomorrow. We will do the remaining. फर्क है हर्ष, when you say non-military, you are saying you are not targeting any armed forces of Pakistan. But when you say terrorist target, that includes both non-military as well as military. फर्क आ जाता है. चलिए, have a nice day everyone. We will meet tomorrow. Happy learning.